You're listening to the Moody Mommies podcast.
Audio warning. You may or may not hear kids screaming and yelling in the background, or us screaming or yelling at them to keep it together.
Hey guys, it's your Moody Mommies here. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Jessica. And today we are going to be talking to our friend Janie, whose Instagram is Lotus Lane Jane. And we're going to get really serious on this episode. I've been really excited to talk to her, and her story is incredible. So I guess I should say this. I don't know how you moms are, but trigger warning. I see that in a lot of posts. So this episode is going to be dealing with infant loss. So, just be aware that if you want to listen, it's a very, very, very interesting story. And I think you guys are really going to benefit from hearing it.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, Janie. I don't know if you're going to get confused between our voices or not.
Oh, I kind of do when I listen to you guys say it. Okay.
Well, this is Jessica talking.
It's me, Vanessa.
Hi, Jess.
Hi.
Hi, Vanessa.
This conversation has been such a long time coming. I'm excited to finally talk with you.
I know. Thank you for taking the time to give me a call and, follow me as well and my story, our story.
Yeah.
I appreciate it too.
Your family story is so touching, and it touches us on a crazy, I don't even know the words to say.
Yeah, another level. So, Jane, do you want to tell our listeners a little about yourself? Everyone that doesn't know your story, do you want to share it with everyone?
Sure. So my name is Janie. Pretty much all my friends and family, close friends, they all call me Jane. So you guys can call me Jane if you like.
I had already started.
So me and he was my boyfriend at the time. We got pregnant in 2014, and I actually found out that I was pregnant the day after his 27th birthday party. So he was all hungover in bed, and I was in the bathroom taking my pregnancy test. It was funny. And so we were excited, we were so happy and thrilled, and we got into the doctor's office right away. We went to all of our appointments, and it was pretty much the pregnancy was super good. I didn't even have morning sickness, so it was just an awesome pregnancy. It was everything I could ever imagine and hope for.
Yeah, I could totally relate to that. Where Vanessa had the opposite, where she was sick.
I was sick like a
the
dog.
entire time.
Yeah.
Totally jealous.
The only weird thing about it was the little Farmer John breakfast sausages. That was the only thing that I couldn't eat. It didn't make me sick, but I just I couldn't eat it. It was really weird. So, so the pregnancy was really good. At the time, we were living out in the boonies. We were living in Hemet, and we didn't feel comfortable.
Do you have family out there at all, or you guys were just alone?
No. Yeah, we were just alone out there. The cost of living was way cheaper, so.
So I know that
that's why we were there.
You know our friend Christina from Booby Life, right? Did you grow up with her, or were you from Ontario as well?
No, so her mom was actually my boss for 8 years.
Oh.
So I was her administrative assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we know each other. And then Christina and her other sisters would come into the office and visit, and we just kind of chatted and hung out, and I really loved her mom, and we just, even after we stopped working together, we just always stayed connected, and family grew on me.
Yeah, they're a really good family. I adore them.
They're
very them. You feel like you're part of their family right away.
Yes, definitely. I love her mom to the moon. I always called her my mama bear. She's my mama bear.
Mm-hmm. She totally is everyone's mama bear.
Yeah.
But okay, so you guys are way out there now.
So we were like way out in the boonies, and we didn't feel comfortable delivering at the hospital that was out there, and like we didn't have family out there. Once the baby came to like watch the baby for us or whatnot, so we decided to like move back closer to family with his mom. So once we moved over here, I transferred into, like, I researched this hospital, like, I researched it. I did my work, and I requested, like, this specific doctor because, like, he was the best and whatnot. So we transferred over here, and I started working with that doctor, like, I think it was 20 weeks. So it wasn't too far. It was, like, halfway through my pregnancy. And again, like, everything was fine. I didn't have any complications. He made me do, like, all of my testing all over again, like ghosts and stuff like that. But it was no big deal. Like, I passed with flying colors.
Yeah.
And so we were due in March, the beginning of March. And, my due date came and went. And I was already like 41 weeks. And so
41
the doctor
weeks?
said, well, she's not 41. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, I was just ready to have her. Obviously, I was excited.
Yeah,
And so the doctor was like, okay, well, it's over a year overdue. So, let's get this baby out. I was under the impression that I was going to walk in, like we scheduled time to walk into the hospital. So I was under the impression that like I was going to walk in and we were just going to have a C-section. I was totally for it. I was ready. But we walk in and the doctor was like, no, we're going to induce you. So I was kind of like blindsided by that.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like.
So even up until this point, all her vital signs, everything, it's like reading totally normal.
Totally normal. Everything was normal. Like, I had a non-stress test, I want to say, like, Thursday. And he wanted me to go into the office that, like, early Monday morning. So I had just had a non-stress test that, like, 4 days before, and nothing was wrong. So we go in, and, like I said, I'm expecting a cesarean, but they like stopped me in my tracks that no, I'm going to be induced. I was kind of like against it, but they totally made me feel like I didn't have a choice, that, that was my only option. So like we were, reluctantly like, okay, like, well, let's proceed. Yeah. And she made it seem like it was going to be as quote unquote, like natural as possible. So like they were going to give me like ripening cream and stuff like that to like help me dilate and soften and whatnot. So that's what we started with.
Before you guys went in, did you guys do like the laboring classes that the hospitals offer?
I went to like one class, and that class was like really huge. I really didn't feel like it was like an intimate experience, right. And they just kind of gave you like a quick rundown of the hospital, like where everything was located, sort of,
Yeah, I think I went to something really similar to that, where they didn't really, it was just a tour. It's not really a laboring class because I mean, I know when I went in, I totally didn't know what was going on either. It was all just kind of like, take the wheel. You guys are the professionals. I've never had a baby.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt too. Like, yeah, they're professional. I totally put all of my trust in them. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I did my own research, but at the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. So, right. Yeah. So there we are. Being induced, and she gave me like softening cream. I did like 2 doses of that, and after like 8 hours, it was still like no dilation. So she put in, it's called a Foley balloon, where it's like this little balloon.
Danelia, the Mommy Amor Birth, told us about that.
Yeah, so I actually had one of those put in, and it didn't hurt. Like, So they just put it in you and then they fill it with saline, like water solution. And as soon as like you're dilated enough, the balloon will fall out. So that's what had happened. By that point, I was already like, 16 hours into the induction or into labor, like by the time that balloon fell out. So 16 hours to get 4 centimeters. And up until that point, I felt, really good. Like I could see that I was having contractions, but, from the monitor, but I couldn't really feel anything. I wasn't uncomfortable. I was really good. So after the balloon fell out, it was like 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the evening. And, so the doctor was asking me from there, like that point on, what were my options. And so she was telling me that, it's going to be shift change coming up. And that if I wanted to get an epidural, like right then would be the ideal time. So, and I had already done, my research, and I had planned on getting an epidural. So I went, they ordered it, they put it in, it wasn't a problem. So from there, she said, once you get an epidural, it's going to be hard for you to get up and walk around, use the restroom. So we're going to put in a catheter.
Yeah, they had to do the same for me too.
Yeah.
I think anytime you
so I was like, okay.
Because you can't get up.
Yeah,
so
you're not allowed to get off the bed, so you have to get a catheter.
Yeah. So, okay, like no problem. I let her do that. While she was putting that catheter in me, she took it upon herself to break my water. Like, she didn't tell me, she didn't ask me. Like, she did it even when she was like doing it. Like, she didn't say nothing like, you're going to feel this, you're going to feel water, this is what I'm doing. Like, nothing.
That's not allowed anymore by the hospital. That's what I was told when I was in labor, because my mom asked if they were going to pop my water. And they were like, no, nurses aren't allowed to do that anymore. You have to wait for the doctor to come in and he'll say when it's necessary to do so.
Yeah, and like for me, my water didn't break either, and I was having a lot of trouble. So they were just like, my mom, I did the same thing. She asked if they could break my water, and they're like, no, we can't. And then they're like, how about this? Like get in position, like if you're going to push out the baby and do some practice pushes. And as I was doing those practice pushes, my water broke.
Yeah. They purposely made you pop it.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, this wasn't even like my physician. Yeah. It was a resident. But still, so like she should have been supervised. I found long story, but I found out later, like she didn't even have her license. Like she graduated from medical school, but she didn't have her license yet at that time. So she technically should have been supervised by like my actual attending physician when she did that. So she broke my water and, she didn't tell me. She just kind of like, all right, you're all good. And she walked away. And my nurse, who was right there, she like was changing the pad under me or whatever. And she's like, oh, you have like a lot of fluid coming out and, stuff, whatever, body fluids coming out. And I was like, really? Like, why? Did my water break? I didn't feel anything. And she looked so confused. She's like, the nurse, like the resident didn't tell you she was going to pop your water? And I was like, no, I was so mad. I was like, she broke my water. Like, she didn't tell me. Like, I'm only 4 centimeters in my mind. Like, that is way too early. Way too early. And so I was expressing like my concerns about the baby getting dry or not being able to come out, and at that time, my mother-in-law, she was visiting. So she was in the room, but she was behind a curtain. And she heard me. She actually works for Kaiser as like a medical records person. But so she's kind of familiar with like procedures and whatnot. Right. Anyway, so she heard me talking and asking, the nurse. And she kind of like flew behind the curtain and was like, what's going on?
Right.
And so, I mean, I was like, no, like, I was upset, I was confused, and I was like, call her back right now, call this resident back, I want to talk to her right now. And they're like, okay, so she left, And then she never came back. I didn't see her until like the next day. Supposedly she was done with her shift and she was gone for the day too. So like I had no option. I mean, it was already done and there was nothing else that like I could do. So I just continued, to lay there and, labor, hope that, that the baby would come soon. At that time too, they started Pitocin to hopefully like really get things going.
I've never heard of that. Have you heard of that, Vanessa?
Mm-hmm. It helps the labor.
The Pitocin, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or it's also called like oxytocin.
Okay. So then, so what exactly?
So like,
in case there's people like me out there listening that don't know exactly what that is.
So it's like a medication that's supposed to be similar to your woman hormones to like help the uterus contract, like help push the baby out. And that's what it's supposed to do.
And they put this in through your IV?
Yeah. Yeah, it's through an IV. Okay. And so I've done a lot of research on it. Like they're supposed to start it off in small doses. And they have a checklist. They're supposed to do this checklist before they start it. And then after they start it, they're supposed to do this checklist like every 30 minutes. And this checklist is saying like the baby is supposed to have accelerations, like their heartbeat is supposed to go up during a contraction. They're only allowed to have like 2 decelerations within 30 minutes. Which is like the baby's heartbeat going down during a contraction. So like it's a checklist, it's criteria that the baby is supposed to meet in order to like have this medicine done, because it's like a high risk medication. If it's like misused, it could harm the baby. I mean, of course, at that time, I didn't know all of this stuff. I found this out like way later.
Right. So, I mean, of course, like me going into the hospital, if they would have been like, we're giving you Pitocin, I would have been like, okay.
Pitocin? It's Pitocin.
You see? You see what I mean? I would have been like, what? Yeah. Okay. Should have, whatever. I totally would have been like that because like I didn't know.
No, I mean, you're right. We walk in there trusting these people with our lives. Like, hey, you're a hospital. You're going to save me. You're going to make sure I'm in the utmost care. So,
like, I don't know the regulations.
Right.
You guys know the
You know what I need in this case. Yeah. So give me what I need, and that's it.
Yeah. Like
they went to school for 12 plus years. Right. They should know what they're doing.
Like even with the epidural, like I knew there was such thing as an epidural, but they're just like, okay, now sit up, and I'm like, what? Like I don't know what is this? What's happening? Where does it go? Yeah.
Hey, did you guys have like when your epidural was placed? Did you feel like that crunchy, I don't know, weird feeling like your bones in your back? No. Was it just me? Oh my god, mine did. Maybe that's something I knew. It felt weird, like
that's so weird.
Like I don't know if you ever have you ever had like if you've had an adjustment like by a chiropractor and your bones kind of crack a little bit. That's what it felt like to me.
No, I didn't have that. I didn't have that feeling at all. I just felt maybe cold.
Yeah, I got cold for sure.
Oh, okay.
They put the little needle back there. I just remember I was in so much pain. I was shaking the whole time. They're like, you gotta keep still. You gotta keep still.
Yeah, it's like
you can't put this in.
But it's like the more they're telling you to keep still,
I'm like clenching up.
You just want to like jerk or something like so bad. Like
imagine like, oh my god, I have horrible allergies. If I had a sneeze attack during that, it would have been over.
I know. It's a really scary moment of your life when you decide to go for an epidural.
Yeah.
I
know. Okay, so
they gave you the Pitocin.
So they started us on Pitocin.
And they're not following the checklist.
Huh? And yeah, they're supposed to do this checklist like every 30 minutes to make sure she met all of those requirements.
And they weren't coming in to check it?
Yeah, so my nurses were like always in my room, like always, constantly. So the nurse like on that first day was really good. I really liked her. She was nice and she was like informative and helpful and everything. The nurse on the second day, because I went in on like super early Monday morning, and by this time it was like Monday night, so it was already like more than 12 hours. It was 12, probably like 8, I was probably like 18 hours
18
into
hours,
it.
and your water had already been broken all this time.
No, my water, they broke my
hours.
water
Okay.
like at 18 hours.
Okay.
Oh, at 18. Okay.
Yeah. So they started the Pitocin, they broke my water, and then after that, like, me and my husband, try to get some sleep. I remember the nurse waking me up like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And she was like throwing the face mask on me, and I was so annoyed because I was like trying to sleep. Like, what the heck? Swish her away. Like, get this out of my face. And she kept doing it, and I was just like, no, like, I'm fine. Like, I can breathe. There's nothing wrong with me. I was so confused. And she's just like, okay, she didn't say anything. Like, she didn't tell me why I needed it. So I went back to sleep. And I woke up again, like around 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was like shaking, shivering, and I wanted another blanket so bad. I was like shaking so bad. And she was like, no, it's, probably something from the Pitocin. Like, your body's just adjusting. You'll be fine. So I was like, okay, fine. So I went back to sleep. And then I woke up again, like around 10 o'clock in the morning. So when I woke up at 10 o'clock in the morning, by that time it was like 32 hours into the induction. And so when I woke up, I felt like crap. Like, I felt like I had been hit by a truck. I felt so sick. My body hurt so bad. Like, and I was hot. My face was red. I was sweating. Like, I felt like sick. Like I had a major flu, like just sick. And, so the resident came back in, and she was like, oh, you have an infection, so we're gonna order antibiotics for you. And she gave me, some Tylenol also to help with the fever, and they put ice packs on me. And since I felt like so horrible, I was like, and it was already, 30 something hours, I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like, just, I want to have this baby. I feel like crap. I want a cesarean right now. She's like, you don't qualify for a cesarean.
What?
So I was like, yeah. I was like, qualify? Like, what do you mean qualify? Like, I had never heard of anybody being denied a C-section, ever.
Okay, after you, I know that you're also friends with Danelia. What did she say about that? Did she say that you're allowed to ask for a cesarean if that's the kind of birth that you want, or it doesn't matter, you just don't qualify?
So, like, you can request it, but I mean, I guess the doctor like weighs the risks and benefits as to, like, is it gonna, I don't know how to explain that, but like, are the risks of having a surgery, do they outweigh the benefit of the baby coming sooner? So, I mean, I guess it's up to the physician. You can request it, but they can always deny it. And so I didn't know that at that time. So I, was like, dude, I'm really sick. Like, I don't understand how I wouldn't qualify for a cesarean. And so, they just said, well, yeah, you don't qualify. Like, you being or having an infection, like, it qualifies you for an induction for you to have the baby, but not a cesarean. So again, I felt like defeated. Like, I had no option. I was just told to continue to labor. The resident left, and the nurse, she was like, okay, well, I'm gonna change your pad. And I've always liked to sleep with a pillow or something between my knees. Mm-hmm. So when she was like, I'm gonna, change your pad or whatever. So she took the pillow out from between my knees. And the pillow was like halfway covered with like meconium, the baby's meconium. Yeah. So like, I knew from, my research that when a baby lets their meconium out, it means that they're in distress. Yeah. So like, again, I freaked out. Like, okay, she's in distress. I feel like crap. Like, you better call her back. I want the C-section.
Yeah. Did that happen
and
to
again,
you with Israel's, Vanessa? No. I think with Justine,
I remember
I did have that too.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I remember someone. I remember it in one of your episodes talking about it.
Yeah, that was me. I was in labor too for like hours. They started like my contractions on Sunday, and then I didn't have her until Wednesday, so I was in there for hours too. And they were, trying to figure out we might have to suction her out, and I was just like, whatever, like same thing as you, like whatever you have to do, like get this baby out. You need. And then they said like, yeah, she has a like poop already in there, like, and I'm just like,
when they poop.
Right? That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that happened with Zoe, poop. But...
Yeah. Okay, so...
Meconium.
Yeah.
Meconium.
So she, had the meconium, and so she just pretty much cleaned me up, changed my pad, and I was told to, like, again, just lay there in labor. And at that time, I had... So it was like 12 hours since she broke my water. Or more than 12 hours since she broke my water, right? And in those like 12 something hours, I went from 4 centimeters to 5 centimeters.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
So that nurse, like she was the new nurse for that day, and me and her just like did not click. We were not cool at all. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just because I wasn't feeling good, but we just couldn't get along. And, so like, again, her too, she was putting the oxygen mask on me, and she was like having me turn from side to side, like every 20-30 minutes. And like, I got annoyed and I got frustrated. And, finally I was like, what is it? Like, why are you giving this to me? What is the purpose of it? Because I can breathe fine. And then that's when she said, like, okay, when the baby's fetal heart rate, the strips are showing that the baby's having decelerations, that the decelerations mean that like the baby needs oxygen. So it's for the baby, it wasn't for me. And so again, I freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not getting enough oxygen. So of course that's gonna make like any mom like panic. So from that point on, like anytime she told me to put it on, like I would put it on and suck up all the air that I could get.
Right. I wonder why the first lady didn't tell you that that's why she was doing it.
Yeah, I don't know either. But, I mean, it was also like 2 a.m. I was just really sleepy. Her and I just didn't click for the rest of the day. And the baby had like the sensors on the top of her head, like to trace her heart patterns. Mm-hmm. And so, like, from the meconium coming out, it was, like, making them slip off of her head. And so, like, she was all up in my business, like, a lot, I felt like it was excessive to, like, put them back on or fix them so that, like, so she could be monitored.
Roxy's, like, already down the birth canal? Like, her head's already showing that they have monitors on it?
No, like, she wasn't that far. She wasn't that far down, like, but they could go, they went up there. Okay. They went up there. Yeah. So they could feel her head anytime that, like, I had a check. They could feel her head, but I still wasn't, like, crowning or anything, Okay. So in the afternoon, again, I kept asking, like, for a C-section. The doctor came back again, like, around noon, and then again, like, at 1, and I kept asking. I was just done. And they just kept telling me, like, I didn't qualify. Like, around 3 o'clock, she came back again, and she was like, you know what, let's go ahead and go with the cesarean. So I was like, hallelujah, I signed.
After my water broke, they're like, we have, like, this amount of hours, and if you don't push that baby out in that time, then, we're going to take her out.
Yeah.
And same thing, like, once they saw that it was, like, meconium, they're just like, okay, like, now is the time. Yeah. And, like, they had the, like, NICU people in the room, like, ready for her to come out, like, just in case of anything.
Yeah. So, again, you're totally right. Like, at that time, I didn't know what that guideline was. Yeah. Like, after the fact, now I know. Once they pop your water, they have between 12 and 18 hours for that baby to be delivered. After 12 or 18 hours, like, it should be considered a failed induction, and they should have given me a cesarean. But by that time, it was I was in labor 22 hours with my water broken. So they should have done it way sooner. But again, at that time, I didn't know. So when she finally like agreed to have a cesarean, I signed my paper and I was like, let's go, you know, I'm ready. So she left, and the nurse that me and her were not friends, we weren't homies, she was like, okay, I'm gonna clean you and prep you for surgery. So like she's cleaning me and prepping me, and like I don't know, I just felt like she really like rough handled me, and she was like leaning on my stomach like super hard. And I told her like, dude, that hurts and that's a lot of pressure. It was uncomfortable. And she was like, I'm almost done. Don't worry, I'm almost done. And like right at that moment, Roxy's heart rate dropped. Like it went, like their normal heart rate was 150 and it plummeted all the way down to 60. And like all of the nursing staff came rushing in, like, what's going on? Threw the face mask on me to give me oxygen, and like I was in a panic. The doctor checked me, and she was like, though, and at that time too, I was still 5 centimeters. The baby's heart rate went back up, like it recovered. So she was, you know, it went back up, and she was kind of like stable. And the resident was like, okay, well, you know, just hang tight. You know, we're going to work on the cesarean. We're getting the surgery room ready. It shouldn't be too much longer. And she walked out. So I was sitting there, and like this freaking nurse was like, I don't know if it was her birthday too or what the heck it was, but I totally remember her saying like, this baby better not give me problems because it's Taco Tuesday. And I got margaritas waiting for me at El Torito.
Oh my god.
I was like, who the heck says that to, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
I was so mad.
That's super annoying.
And yeah. Like, I'm an inconvenience to you, and this is your job, lady. Sorry.
Right.
So I was sitting there, and she was still in front of me. She was like updating my patient chart, whatever. As to like the baby's heart had just dropped, and she's standing right in front of me, and she gets phone call, and she answers in front of me, and she's like, yeah, even if she wants to turn over, I won't let her. Okay, I'll let her know, whatever. And she hangs up, and she turns to me, and she's like, oh, that was your doctor. He said that your baby's heart rate looks stable, so we're gonna cancel the cesarean for right now and let you labor another few hours to see if she comes.
Oh my gosh.
And I was livid. I was like, nope, you call him in here and he needs to tell me to my face, because I didn't want to do that. I wanted it. Like, I consented to cesarean, and he told me that's what I was going to do. Like, it was too long. I still felt like crap. Like, I'm done. And I kept bugging her, and I think it just got on her nerves. And she was like, you know what? I want you to turn over. Because I was facing her. So I think she wanted me to, like, have my back to her. She's like, I want you to turn over. And I was like, what? Like, you just said in front of me, even if I wanted to turn over, like, you wouldn't let me, that I was comfortable the way I was. And so she was like, well, I don't care. I want you to turn over. So I felt it, like, when you just have that, like, intuition, like, I felt it in my soul, like, I should not have done that. And I did. I turned over, and right when I turned over, my husband was standing in front of me, and his eyes got really big because he could see the monitor. I guess he could see that, like, her heart rate was dropping again. And he's like, he threw the face mask on me. He's like, I want you to take big, deep breaths. And I was like, don't play. I told him, like, don't play with me. It's not funny. And he's like, I'm not. Like, you need to breathe, like, really hard right now. So I was, like, breathing really hard. And again, everybody came in and they were checking me. And they were like, no, like, they were feeling my stomach. It was really hard. Somebody gave me a shot in the ass if I don't know what. And they're like, nope. They called code and, like, pulled everything out of the wall. They threw some scrubs at my husband, and they were like, we're gonna have a cesarean, you know, she needs to come out right now. So I was like, okay. And, like, I felt it was kind of, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I felt calm in the moment, but I was still a little bit scared. But I don't know. It was just a really weird feeling.
Right, because I mean, this is what you had planned on doing the entire time. So now it's like finally, you know what I mean? Like, what other sign
Yeah.
did you guys need? Like, can you please take Roxy out? Like, she's not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's probably
So,
like that little bit of relief.
yeah, it was. So we're going down the hall, and like we're turning all these turns, and as we're turning, like the doctor's telling him like, don't run, because if you run and we make a turn, you're gonna get like pinched against the wall, between the wall and the bed. And I was like, all right, weirdo, like you're worried about being pinched against the wall rather than getting this baby out. And so as we're running down the hall, I'm like looking back, and I couldn't find my husband. I had no idea where he was. I was like, where is he at? And they're like, oh, he's putting on his scrubs. He'll be right here. So we get to the OR, so the operating room, and then like they put me like against the metal table, and then I'm just waiting there. And like they didn't like pick me up and put me over onto the operating table. And so I was like, all right, well, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Why am I still waiting here? And they're like, oh, well, we don't know how to transfer you. Like, this blow up mat thing that was supposed to be under me, like, it wasn't working. And so then I started to panic. Like, she needs to come out now. Like, I don't know why I'm just waiting here. So I literally, like, turned over onto my belly and crawled, like, military style on my forearms onto the table. And again, my husband, he wasn't in there. I don't know where he was. I was asking for him, and nobody would talk to me. And as soon as like I got on the table, like they just like ripped my gown off. I was like totally completely exposed to everybody. And like these doctors were like throwing alcohol and whatever on my belly and scrubbing me. And I didn't have like the blue sheets on my belly or in front of my face. And everybody was just like busy, hurry, doing something. And like they started like clamping my stomach, like the skin, to pinch it.
Oh my god.
And I told I felt it. I felt it like clearly, like clear as day. I felt it. And I was like, hey, I'm not supposed to feel that. And like nobody would listen to me. I was like, I feel that. And they just like completely ignored me. And the anesthesiologist was like at my head. And I looked back at him. I was like, I can feel that. Like, I'm not supposed to feel that. And he's like, oh, you just feel like pressure. You don't actually feel like pinching. I was like, no, I feel the pinching, and I'm not supposed to feel that. And then just as I said that to him, like one of the nurses I don't know who it was. It was just like a big, loud, like man's voice was like, you need to go now, like to the surgeon. And I looked up, and again, I didn't have the blue cover in front of me. And I looked up, and I saw, like, the first, like, slice into my stomach.
Oh, my God.
And I just, like, felt, like, all of my hot fluids, like, on my stomach and covering my back. And, like, I felt, like, every cut, every pull, every tear. Like, I felt all of their hands inside of me. And I was like screaming from the pain. It hurt so bad. And so they pulled her out, and somewhere in the middle, I had my eyes closed because I was in so much pain. And they finally put the blue sheet up. I don't know when at what point, but they finally put it up so I couldn't see. And like I could feel when she came out, but I was like in so much pain that I didn't realize that I didn't hear her cry or like make any noises. I was just like trying to breathe and trying to concentrate and trying to like contain myself and like the pain that I was in. And then I started to like go numb, and it was like this heavy feeling, like, I don't know. It was just like a really heavy, I was like really heavily drugged. Like I almost passed out. And again, Robert, I have no idea where Robert was at that point. He wasn't beside me. He wasn't in there. So I was just there by myself. And I was like, I was still crying. And everything was quiet. I mean, to me, it was like quiet. I'm sure they were making a lot of noise, but to me, it was just really quiet. And all of a sudden I hear like, call it, call it, call it. And I was like, call it? Like, my mind like flashed to like movies and stuff like that when they're like, medical, the ER, whatever, when they're saying call it, like, someone's passed away. Yeah. So I started, like, what's going on? Where's my baby? Is she okay? What's going on? And like, nobody would answer me. And some nurse, she was on the side of me, she grabbed my hand, and I looked up at her and she was crying. And I was like, why is she crying? Like, why is she crying? What's going on? Why aren't they telling me anything? And I was asking for my husband again, and nobody would say anything.
Were they not letting him in the room? I mean, I'm sure you found out later, like, where he was.
Yeah, I found out later that, like, the scrubs didn't fit him or whatnot, or he tore them. And when he finally got new ones, he like ran to the to the operating room, and he was like running in, and he was running in. The nurse or whoever was in front of him just like got to work and didn't tell him where to go or where to stand. So he just kind of like stood in the doorway watching everything. So, like, he saw them cut into me. He saw the baby being pulled out. He, heard me screaming. Like, he was just standing there watching everything. And when she was born, like, she was born without a heartbeat. They were resuscitating her. And so he saw them working on her, trying to resuscitate her. And one of the gentlemen working on her was asking for, like, a syringe. And everybody was just so busy doing stuff that, like, nobody responded and handed this doctor the syringe that he wanted. So Robert got frustrated and was like, give him the fucking needle, give him the syringe. And then that's when they noticed, oh, he's standing there. And at that point, they kicked him out and told him to go, like, to the waiting room. So a nurse came up to me and she put a band on my hand and she was like, this is your golden ticket to go see the baby later. And so I was like, oh, okay, that means she's okay. That means she's okay, like, she's good. And so they sewed me up and took me to recovery. And the whole time I'm thinking, at that point I'm thinking, like, Robert's going to be totally pissed at me. He's going to be so mad because he like missed the birth of his daughter. He didn't get to like cut her cord or nothing, like, I was so afraid he was going to be mad at me for some reason, and so I'm in recovery and I see him coming and his face looks like so sad. He looks so broken. And I just asked him, I'm like, I just remember telling him, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I could do. Like, I'm so sorry he didn't get to do any of that. Like, he was robbed of that, And, after I told him, like, I'm sorry, and he didn't say anything. And I said, did you see the baby? And he goes, no. And I said, oh, well, I'm fine. I'm okay. I don't care about me. Just go find her. Go find her and make sure she's okay. Go see what's going on with her. And so I sat there by myself. And, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later, he comes walking back in. And there's, like, 20 people behind him. And then, like, that's when I just broke down. I was like, no, don't tell me. Like, don't tell me she's gone. Don't tell me she died. And, like, they were waiting for him to tell me. And he just stood quiet. He's like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know what's going on. And, the nurse told me, like, she was pulled out, that's when she told me when she was pulled out, she was not breathing. We had to resuscitate her, but because she was for so long without oxygen that, all of her, her brain and her organs suffered. So she's in the NICU and they're working on her, but most likely, like, if she survives, she's going to be, in a vegetative state for the rest of her life. And, and, like, I had stopped crying. Like, I had stopped crying at that point. I was like, so she's okay. It was such a, like, roller coaster. Like, so she was gone, but then she came back. But, like, I don't care. Like, it's not that I don't care, but I would rather have my baby, like, even if she was in a vegetative state, than, like, to not be with me at all. Like, I don't care. I would have done anything, you know. I would have cared for her every day for the rest of my life if I had to, as long as, like, I had her. And, so after they explained what had happened, you know, everybody left. And I was in recovery for a really long time. So she was born at, like, 4:30. By the time I got to, like, my own room in the maternity ward, it was, like, 8 o'clock. And I was, like, asking the nurse, you know, I want to go see my baby. I want to see her for myself. I need to see her. And she was like, oh, well, we just had shift change, and whoever the new people are going to be, you know, assessing her and treating her. So right now is not the ideal time for you to see her. You're just going to have to wait until tomorrow.
So this entire time, like, since they took her out of you, you still had not seen her one time?
I still had not seen her, like, at all. And so I was like, no, I don't care who you need to call. I don't care if you need to talk to the owner of this freaking hospital. Like, I'm gonna see my baby tonight, and you're gonna make it happen. So, like an hour later, finally the nurse was like, okay, we have you approved. You're gonna go see her. So she was born at 4:36, and I didn't see her till 9:15. And I just remember walking in, and she looked like a perfect little baby, like, so pink in her hair, and she looked like me. I have a picture of myself, you know, my first day, and she looked like me. Like, there was no denying that was my girl.
Yeah, all the little pictures of her, she just looked so healthy and so full.
Yeah. So when I walked in, she was not breathing on her own, but, like, you could tell her, you know, she was breathing. She just had a little bit of help. Like, she had a tube in her nose, but her chest was rising, you know, that she was breathing kind of on her own. And I was like, I had to feel her heart. Like, I put my hand on her chest, and I could feel her little heart, and it was beating so hard. And I was just, like, in such disbelief. Like, there's no way she died. There was no way. Look at her. She looks so good, you know? And so I was just touching her and feeling her, talking to her. And the nursing staff, they only let us be there for, like, 5 minutes, and then they kicked us out.
Oh my gosh.
They were, you know, saying that
5 minutes felt like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it totally did. And they only let us take, like, two or three pictures, you know, that I always post of her. Like, those are the only ones that I was able to get that day. So after that, like, every day we would go see her. So since her brain was, like, deprived of oxygen, they put her on a cooling bed. So it's like a cold bed, and the cold and, like, certain kind of oxygen is supposed to help the baby, like, recover. So they're supposed to do that for 3 days. So they did that for 3 days, and then after that they put her in under a warmer light and let her body rewarm. And they said that was, like, a really critical point, because, like, once her body rewarms, however she reacted to it would determine, like, you know, how the rest of her life would be. And the NICU doctors just kept, like, they really wanted us to just, like, give up on her and, like, pull the plug. She's too far gone. You know, she's in pain. She's suffering. She don't want her to live the rest of her life like this. Like,
what it was just really,
really hard. Yeah. I had gotten into an argument. Like, thank God Rob was there, and my husband Rob, he was there, you know, like, holding me back, because I literally wanted to punch this guy one time. We were in the hallway, and he brought it up, like, you guys need to just, you know, let her go. And I was like, no, like, I'm not going to give up. I'm not, like I said, if I had to live the rest of my days taking care of her 24/7, that's what I was going to do. And he yelled at me from the top of his lungs that, like, stop playing God and just let her go. And I was like, what the like, I'm not playing God, dude. Like, I'm her mom. Like, that's my baby. I love her. I want her. She's, like, so wanted. I can't just let her, like, cut her off. Like, I can't choose to end her life. Like, I couldn't. I couldn't.
Yeah, like, how dare they, like, try to guilt you from having hope for your daughter?
Right. Like, as a mother, you never give up on your children. You're not supposed to.
Yeah. Like, that whole week was just really, like, really, really hard. So, the infection that I had after the baby was born, they were doing all kinds of blood tests on me, like, testing my blood to see what kind of bacteria it was and whatnot. They sent her placenta to, like, pathology, and they found abscesses in the placenta. So it's like pus, like little pus bubbles in the placenta.
Wow.
And so from that, they were like, I don't know if you guys have heard, it's called listeria. So, like, when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to eat, like, raw meats or raw fish because it could cause listeria.
Mm-hmm.
So those little pus bubbles in the placenta to the doctors looked like listeria. And so from that, they were attacking me, like, even more. Like, what did you eat? What did you eat? What did you drink? You know, go back, think 3-4 days back. What did you eat? And I was like, I know, like, I did my research. Like, I know what I'm supposed to eat or not eat, and I know I didn't eat anything. But it like, drove me crazy. Like, I was killing myself, literally thinking, like, what did I eat? What did I do? Like, they really drilled it into me that something somehow was, like, my fault. And, I don't know. Just, she was there for 7 days, and on the 7th day, the doctor told us, like, there's nothing else that we could do for her. She's on full life support. She's not improving. There's nothing else that we can do to, like, give her more. And, so I was like, well, I don't care. You're still gonna, whatever you're doing right now, you're just gonna keep doing it. So, later that afternoon, we had seen her, and we were, like, walking back to the room, and right when we got to the room, like, the phone rang. And, I didn't want to answer it. I had, like, this really bad feeling, like, it was gonna be the NICU calling me back. So I just looked at Rob, and I was like, let's go back. Like, I didn't answer it. We just turned back around, and we went back to the NICU. And as soon as we got to the NICU, they were like, she's within the last hour, all of her signs are going down, which means, like, she's at the end of her life. Do you want us to take her off now so you can hold her? Or what did you want to do? And I, even at that point, like, knowing her signs, all of her signs were going down, like, I still couldn't take her off of the breathing machines and everything. So we just kind of, like, sat with her, and we were in our own little private room. We just sat with her, we held her hands, and, talked to her and told her that we loved her. And, probably, like, when I saw that her oxygen was, like, really, really low, was when I told him, like, okay, I wanted to hold her. And so they picked her up and they gave her to me, and I was just, like, smelling her, kissing her, and whispering to her. And then I gave her to Robert, and Robert was, holding her and crying and kissing her too. And so we were just, looking at her back and forth between them. And then the nurse, she walked out and let us have our own time with her. And then when she came back, she had called, her time of death. And,
so
we just stayed.
You guys were able to hold her, like, as she passed?
Yeah, as she passed away. That was the only time that we were able to hold her. The first time and the last time. And, so we had our time in there with her. Robert called his mom, to come and say goodbye to her. So his mom came. I don't think she held her. I don't remember her holding her, but I do remember her talking to her and kissing her, telling her goodbye. And, she had been like so fragile that whole week that I don't know, in my mind I still felt like she was really like super fragile, you know. And the nurse had told us, you know, if we wanted to take her back to the room or to give her a bath. And honestly, I really regret it now that I didn't do that. But at the time, I was thinking like, no, I don't want to hurt her. She's so fragile. I can't give her a bath. I can't do those things. So I didn't. But I totally regret that now. I think it would have been like something so intimate, you know, something special. But at the time, I was just so filled with grief and thinking that like I was going to hurt her for some reason that I just decided not to do that. So we just, you know, said our goodbye. We were there for a couple hours with her and just talked to her and touched her and kissed her and said our goodbyes. And then I had to we went back to my room.
Were you still admitted in the hospital at this point, or were you just like coming every day to visit?
No, so I was still there at the hospital because of the
infection.
Yeah, and it infected my C-section, my scar, like the incision, that they had to reopen my incision. So I didn't, like, they took out all the staples and they like totally reopened it. And I was like on antibiotics. They had to like put gauze inside of my belly. I was there for like a little bit over 2 weeks.
Wow.
I think I was there for like another whole week after she had passed. Just getting treated for the infection.
So the second time when they went in and took out your stitches, it was a totally different pain than what you had when you knew that it was wrong, right?
Yeah. So when they took out my staples, like that time I was numb. I didn't feel anything. I was on some pretty good drugs by then. So I didn't feel it. But like as it was becoming infected, like my stomach felt really sore. Like I was telling, we met up with Danny and Christina a couple of days ago and Rachel, and I was telling them the story that like my stomach had hurt so bad that like when I went to the restroom, I couldn't even like bend down to like wipe myself. And I had called one of the nurses to come and help me. Like at that point I felt so like degraded, but I was also like I was so hopeless. So I called this nurse to come and help me, and she was like, "What? You want me to do what?" I was like, I can't wipe myself, and I can't bend over. I'm in so much pain. And she's like, oh no. And she just like left. She just left me. And I was like, what the heck? I had such a horrible experience. Like, it wasn't just the baby. It was like a lot of other little things. So Rob, stepped up and he helped me out. But so I was telling him about like the whole bottle. You guys were talking about the whole squeeze bottles before.
Yeah.
So I mean, like nobody instructed me. Nobody told me, hey, this is what it's for.
Oh my God.
I didn't have any like that guidance.
After all like these stories that I'm hearing about when people are having their first child, like the more and more I feel like it's super important to have a doula that's there for you, because our moms could be there for us, but they don't know what the new criteria is. They don't know what things have changed. Like, you really do need a professional that has been working with you through your pregnancy, and you would think that's who your doctor is. You go and see your OBG every couple weeks, and they should be the one that are helping you through this, but like they just seem like, this is just my job, like you were saying. You were talking about whatever, and I don't know if you heard during my birth story, I was like, they're just over here talking about whatever, laughing about whatever, and I have my epidural. I can't feel anything. My boyfriend was just like, I think you need to be pushing. I'm looking at the monitor, and you should be pushing, and they're not telling you anything. Like, they're just in their own little world, like, gossiping about people.
I think, everybody gets comfortable in their job kind of thing, so I think that's the same probably in healthcare. They just get too comfortable and confident with what they're doing, and get a little bit.
And they just like assume that
right. They
we
slack
know
off
as well.
on the protocol, and they get a little laxed with what they should really, really be doing.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Because if you would have had, Danny there with you,
or just a nurse, like when I went to my room after I had Zoe, nobody told me what those things were for. They weren't in there, so I had no idea I needed them. So here I was trying to wipe myself too. So it's important. Yeah. And I think we all just assume that, oh, we're having a baby. We got it all figured out. But it's like self-care, aftercare. It's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah, definitely.
How long did it take you to recover afterwards?
With the infection.
Yeah. They couldn't sew, because it was infected, like they couldn't sew it back up. I had to like let it all drain out. And like the day before, that same day that I was released from the hospital, they put like a vacuum on it to like suck out all the bad stuff. So I had to wear this vacuum for like more than 2 months.
Oh my god.
So I didn't fully, so I had the baby in March, and I didn't fully close until like the end of May, beginning of June. It was like months, and every week. So when I was released and I had the infection, twice a week a nurse would come to my house and clean it and change it. And then once a week I had to go back to the hospital and have them clean it, change it, and look at it. Wow. And so that was just like another horrible experience in itself. Like them to change the gauze, like from inside of my, like my muscles.
Oh my god.
That first time that like the nurse pulled out the gauze from my stomach, like I was screaming because it was like literally like stuck to the inside of my muscles. I was screaming, it hurt so bad. And then when I would go to the first time I went back to like the clinic and have them change it, I'm sitting there in a waiting room full of pregnant women or women who have just had their babies, and I couldn't take it. I just totally broke down crying, and I like ran out of there. And I was just waiting in the parking lot, and one of the nurses who saw me run out, she went to go get me, and she like took me like in a back way, and the doctor, would change it. And same thing, that happened with the home nurse. I started crying because it hurt so bad. I started crying with him because it hurt so bad. And he told me like, there's no nerve endings there because they're cut, so it shouldn't hurt. And I was like, well, then why am I crying? Why am I screaming? Because this freaking stuff hurts, dude. And each time, I went there for more than 2 months. And each time I'd be crying because it hurt so bad for him to change it. And it wasn't until like probably like the last 3 weeks that I had gone to see him, he was finally like, okay, I'm going to numb you with some lidocaine in the area so you don't feel it. So, it was just horrible. It didn't close until like the beginning of June. And then we did order like an autopsy to be done on the baby, and that was done at the end of June. And I had tons of questions. I didn't understand any of it, and I wanted answers, So once I got the autopsy report, I was trying to contact my doctor to like set an appointment to like go over it with me and explain it to me. I don't know this medical terminology. And so I called like the pastoral care services at the hospital, and so she said she was going to set up the appointment for me. So I go, and the NICU team was there, and not one person from my OB team showed up.
Oh my god.
So at that point, and the NICU team, like, they didn't know what had gone on during labor, so they couldn't answer any of my questions. They just knew, taking care of Roxanne. So they could answer all my questions as far as like Roxanne's care after she was born, but not before. So I just got like really frustrated. And at that point, I just became even more mad. Like, they're avoiding something. They know something and they're avoiding me. Like, what is it? So at that point was when I had started to like look for a lawyer to review my records and see if something had gone wrong, that they did something wrong, just to help me out.
So this is now in July-ish, right?
That's in July. That started in July. Yeah. And so every time I went to a lawyer, like, they would turn me away, and I was so confused. Like, some of them had told me that my attending physician, my OB, he was like this really popular, he's like really well known. And so they knew him. They had used him as like an expert in other stuff. So it would be like a conflict of interest, like for them to pursue like legal action against him, like since they were buddies or whatever. And I finally found one person who is willing to help me. And so like the law states you have like 1 year to file a lawsuit after the death of, the death or like malpractice or whatever. And so I was coming up on that 1 year, from July to the next March. I was like in between those, I was like looking for help. So finally I found somebody, and it was already coming up on my 1 year that she had been passed. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to do the claim for you. She did it. She filed it in court, like on the day of my cutoff. And then like a week later, she was like, so she filed the claim in court for me. And then about a week later, she just like abandoned me. Like, she said that she wasn't able to help me anymore. She didn't really give me a reason why. She just said that she wasn't able to help me, and that she was going to try and get me like another referral. But all of the other referrals, like, they didn't want to help me either. So that was in March, a year after she had passed away.
Did you figure out what that was about? Like, why was nobody willing to help?
I mean, he's a really popular physician.
Okay.
And
nobody wanted to be on his bad side or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and also, I can't really say his name, right. But he like, the guidelines that all of the OBs are supposed to abide by, he helped write to some of these guidelines. So he's like very well known. So, I mean, again, people were probably thinking like, there's this physician, like, he's writing these laws, he's writing these guidelines. He couldn't have, made a mistake.
Right. Like, why would he go against the things that he made up himself?
Yes, exactly. So you could be a professional at anything and you could still make a mistake. You know what I mean? Just because you're a professional doesn't exempt you from making any kind of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But just the fact that he didn't want to like talk to me at all just totally turned me off, I think if he really would have like come forward, maybe I wouldn't have gone, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have gone this far. I don't know. But he never gave me that opportunity. He never answered like any of my questions. So anyway, so I continued to like try and find legal help. Nobody would help me. And so finally I just kind of like gave up, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this myself. I'm going to look into it myself. I'm going to take it as far as I could go, and we'll just see what happens. So like, I was so confused. Like, I know nothing like about the law. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to look for. So what I did was I had requested a copy of her death certificate, which listed like the reasons why, she passed away. So I got that, and I just worked my way backwards, I guess. Like, I got that and researched why, what would cause these causes of death. And I researched those, and I compared them to my medical records, and I reached out to like, it's called the ACOG, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. They're the ones that like uphold all of the guidelines. So I reached out to them, and I would request like copies of their guidelines, their official guidelines. And I would compare those to my medical records. And things just started clicking. Like, okay, she made a mistake where the resident made a mistake where she broke my water too soon, where she didn't ask for my consent in doing that. My water was broken for too long. I had an infection. Like, things just started clicking. But like, the major thing that caused Roxanne's death is that she did not meet that checklist for the Pitocin use. So she was having like 16 hours of decelerations. So that means that like she did not meet the checklist. They should have turned it off, the Pitocin off. And instead of turning it off, they kept increasing it. So making it stronger and stronger. And that's what caused her to like the decelerations. And when she was having decelerations, that like was depriving her of oxygen. So basically like she suffocated within inside of me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I still don't have a lawyer, and I'm going back and forth at the moment between myself and the lawyers for the doctors and the lawyers for the hospital. And even though like I've matched all this stuff up in my medical records and I found everything, like my word means nothing. You know what I mean? I'm technically not a physician. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. So my word doesn't mean anything.
So that's why you need somebody who is an expert, right? So that they could vouch for everything that you're saying.
Yes.
But
so
nobody will
hire.
But nobody will go against this guy.
Yeah. So kind of in a rough spot. I found a couple physicians that, you know, they say that they're neutral. They don't care who this physician is, but their fees are like ridiculous fees. And obviously, like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck like pretty much everybody else in our community. I can't afford $10 or $15 or $20,000 out of my pocket at the drop of a dime.
And that's just for them to come and like testify, and that's it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
not even a guarantee. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't guarantee anything. It's just that they're gonna come talk.
So also in that process, I filed complaints like with the California Department of Public Health, and so that organization oversees all the hospitals to make sure that like they're following the rules. And so when they went in and investigated the hospital. They found exactly what I found, that, you know, she didn't meet the requirements for the Pitocin and it should have been turned off. But I can't use the law protects the law protects them, that I can't use that investigator that went to the hospital. I can't use him in my civil case. The law protects the hospital from me using that person.
That's what all those forms that they make you sign when you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's what all that says.
Everything.
Nobody reads it.
I mean, what can you do? You're in there, just like,
you're just like, sign here,
out.
Sign there, like something. I mean, of course, you go to the hospital when something's wrong or you're giving birth, so you're gonna sign anything that's gonna get you help.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
If you don't have a choice, you either sign those papers or you get nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
all that fine print.
What are we hoping, you know, if you know, I know that you have a GoFundMe set up, right?
Yes, I do. So my GoFundMe is gofundme.com/justice for Roxy. And I was trying to do like other fundraisers to like, you know, help with the funds, but they're kind of like stalling out as well. A lot of people definitely give me, you know, moral support, and you know, they're definitely on my side, but you know, I'm just not getting any monetary donations at the moment.
So what is, I mean, I don't know if I'm saying this like the right way, but like, what are we hoping to get out of this lawsuit?
So out of the lawsuit, once, you know, I have to have somebody testify on my behalf saying that, you know, this physician, you know, was negligent, had malpractice. Him and the hospital will be fined. The doctor may lose his license. It's not guaranteed. But definitely, like, I just really want to hold them accountable for something that could most definitely have been prevented. I'm supposed to have a 3-year-old toddler right here, right now, playing with me, talking to me, and I don't. So I just really want them to be held accountable for their actions or lack of actions,
Yeah, they should be. For like, I can't believe that they just like canceled one of the C-sections and then just like, oh, okay, let's go. Like afterward, when it was already too late.
Yeah.
That's just like,
yeah. And definitely I have like other goals. This is obviously my goal right now. Once the case is all done, said and done, I definitely have goals to like bring more awareness. I'm definitely like in the process of writing my legislators to like change these medical laws that protect, the hospitals and the doctors when they make a mistake. Like, that's not right. They should be, definitely held accountable for whatever they do wrong.
So, with your experience, you were doing the research before anyways. Is there anything that you could recommend for new mothers so that something like this doesn't happen again? Other than, of course, the legal stuff with the doctors, but is there any like personal advice that you could give to someone?
First and foremost, I want to say, like, just because I had a bad experience, doesn't mean you're going to have a bad experience. So I don't want to scare, any new mommies out there. I don't want to scare them, definitely ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Ask a million questions. Do all the research that you can. Definitely review your options, because there's no wrong way to give birth, whether it's vaginal or cesarean. Like, birth is birth, and no option is wrong. I would say, like, the website or the organization I had mentioned before, the ACOG, they have a lot of, if you're curious, go check out their guidelines and read their guidelines so that, they know what they're walking into. If they'd be more informed if they want to have a C-section, go look up the guidelines on a C-section. Look up if you're having an induction. Go look up the guidelines on having an induction, and there's a ton of information out there. So that's what I would do.
And how are you and your husband coping with the loss of Roxy?
It's for sure. It's been really, really, really hard. There's always moments where, we sit and wonder what kind of, what she would have been, who she would have grew into in the months, like, directly after her passing. Like, even now, honestly, it's really hard for me to, I can't go to a baby shower. I'm definitely happy and excited for, the expecting mother, but it's just really hard for me to be around, another pregnant person or another little baby, because my mind just goes to, this is what I missed out on, so it's definitely hard. But again, I always stress that I'm happy for that mother. I'm happy for that baby. It's just, it's just what I'm missing. Between me and my husband, things have been rough. It's definitely put a strain on our relationship, but we're working on it. It's always a work in process. Any other question?
Yeah, Vanessa and I are both like sitting here and like a loss for words.
I know, it's a very, very tough subject. So we just want to thank you so much for being so open and honest with everyone that's listening. It's very, very hard to talk about, I'm sure. So thank you for letting it all come out for us today.
Letting us know about Roxy, the short life that she lived, just getting her story out so that something like this doesn't happen to another family.
Right.
Yeah. And I want to, thank you guys also for giving me the opportunity to, speak about her. It's definitely tough to bring it up or to talk about her, because I just get so emotional, but I'm always glad to talk about her, and I'm always glad to tell, people about her short little life, and that she had the most perfect eyebrows. That she was just so beautiful, and I'm always happy. I'm always excited to talk about her. You know, in the beginning it was really hard to talk about her because honestly, like, I really did believe like it was somehow my fault, you know, but as I realized, you know, it wasn't my fault and that guilt kind of like faded away, you know, like, you know, that's when I really started like telling people about my story, telling people about her, and really opened up. And so I'm really glad that you guys gave me the opportunity to share her story.
Yes, thank you. We love that
Thank
you shared
you.
it with us, and you're keeping her memory alive.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, we're going to keep following along with you. And of course, we want to spread Roxy's story.
Yeah.
And about your GoFundMe, because this is so crazy. Like, I just can't even think of any other words to say other than that. And I mean, we want to support you, and we hope that everybody else does along the way.
Thank you.
Yes, Jane.
I
We wish
really
you the
appreciate
best of
your
luck.
support.
Yeah, we'll be keeping up with you, and you know, keep us involved and let us know.
I will.
How it's going.
I always post you know, an update here and there on, you know, what's going on. So people can, I did have my Instagram, you know, private before, but I opened it up so anybody can follow me, and they can follow me at Lotus Lane Jane. And I also have, you know, anything that's about Roxy, I always hashtag it, remember Roxy. So, you know how they have that option now on IG to follow hashtags. If you just want to follow Roxy's little story, you can just follow the hashtag remember Roxy, and you can see all of her pictures and mementos that I've posted about her.
Okay. Yeah.
So sweet.
Okay, Jenny, well, we love you. Thank you for freaking staying up this late with us.
Yes.
Okay, you guys have a good night.
You too. Take care, Jane.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Well, that was a very, very, very intense conversation.
It's pretty rough. But we're wishing Jane and her family the best of luck, and we're hoping everything turns out in their favor.
Mm-hmm. On a lighter note, we reached 1,000 followers on Instagram, and we're so fortunate, so happy. So let us know.
We're really grateful, guys.
Maybe that's the word.
Yeah, we're really grateful that there's actually 1,000 people looking at what we're posting, like every other day,
whenever we
we get the chance. So we're not chasing after the kids, guys. We like to post stuff, but yeah, we're really, 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 really grateful. So we wanted to do a giveaway for you guys, but we have some rules and regulations to it because, you know, there's got to be some structure. So how are we going to do it, Jess? We're going to do entries.
Yeah, so the way you get entered into this giveaway is by leaving us a review on iTunes. So leave us a review on iTunes, and then send us a message in a comment or whatever and let us know that you did it. And also, let me let you know what our giveaway is exactly. So go to Instagram, follow chocolate milk kids _, and you will see the cutest little t-shirts. They're hip hop and urban children's apparel, and adults too.
It's so cute, guys.
Mm-hmm. So they have all these really cool little mommy and me shirts. You can go to her Etsy, and she's a single mom doing her thing, and she started this business after trying to find shirts for her son, and then, you know, it just kind of turned into these really cool sayings. So check her out, chocolate milk kids _. So follow her, follow us, leave the review on iTunes, and yeah, let us know that it's done.
Okay, so the way we're going to do it, guys, we're going to do a raffle. Once everybody leaves their reviews and enters, we are going to put everyone's name in a hat and do a live raffle. We haven't picked a date for the raffle yet, so stay tuned on our Instagram to find out when it's going to be.
So yeah, so the entries start now. As soon as you hear this, it is April
17th.
April 17th. So go ahead, start entries. We'll probably do it about 2 weeks, maybe.
2 weeks. That sounds like a good time frame.
Yeah, but you'll get the exact date on our Instagram.
Why don't we announce it on like the winner on Cinco de Mayo. Is that enough time?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Something to celebrate.
Yeah, that's a good one. So again, our giveaway is with chocolate milk kids _ mommy and me shirts. They're
Can
so
I
cute.
enter it?
No, you can't freaking
Why
enter
not?
it. They're really cute shirts,
I
though.
know.
I love it.
I
And
got
her
my own Instagram. I could just give us a little review. Give us a little love.
give us some love from your personal Instagram. No, I know what your Instagram name is, and it does not count.
Whatever, because I think we're pretty cool.
And
I was going to leave a review saying that, but
Well.
I guess I won't.
I think they're pretty cool. AKA talking about myself.
AKA
talking
Moody
about my
Mommy's
cousin.
Rock. AKA I am a Moody Mommy.
AKA let me read you this little story. So this is the owner of the Etsy shop. Her name is Cynthia. I'm going to read you her little bio. So I'm going to read it like as if I were her. So my name is Cynthia, and I'm a proud single mama to a happy and healthy little boy named Jacob, who's featured on all my posts, photos, and models all the boys tease. I'm a full-time mom, child development specialist, and small business owner. I'm into fashion and kids fashion as well. I launched Chocolate Milk in April 2015 because I was inspired by the clothes not sold in stores. Whenever I'd go to H&M, Target, Old Navy, etc., they never had anything I was attracted to. So they just weren't creative enough for me. Granted, they do have cute clothes. I mean, I freaking live at Old Navy.
I know. I'm obsessed.
And if any of you mamas have boys, you know the struggle. Basic shirts, jeans, and Crocs. So I thought, why not make my own shirts? So yeah, guys, super duper 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 cute.
That mom hustle life, guys. Give her a follow, and don't forget to enter our giveaway because you could win some shirts. So why not?
And until next time, next episode. I shouldn't have clapped. So next episode, clapping right into the microphone. We are going to be talking to the sleep trainer.
Yes, we need her in our life for sure. Natalie, it is.
Natalie,
Pretty stoked to talk to Natalie.
Yeah, so we're gonna get that in. We'll have that to you. So if you guys have any questions about sleep training, send them our way.
Yes.
If you are super duper pro co-sleeping, also hit us up because we'd love to hear your perspective and why you think it's so important to co-sleep.
Yes.
Or bed share, whatever term you tickles your fancy. I'm not huge on terminology. You guys know English is our only language, and we don't
have
even speak it
our own Moody Mommy dictionary around here, guys.
But other than that, thank you for listening. We'll catch you on IG.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Say Moody Mommies.
Moody Mommies.
Moody Mommies Podcast.